Before I start this video, I just want to say that this video is fair use, so all the media used in this video is used for criticism, review in a transformative way. All the information I present is public information, so everything else is alleged, a joke, or just my opinion. So the first thing that I want to talk about is James Charles, because, well, first of all, people have been kind of freaking out over the fact that Doja Cat unfollowed him, but there's also another story about an ex-employee of his. So this employee was originally hired as an editor, but then was kind of promoted to a producer, but there's the whole messy thing, I'll get into it. But she's filing a lawsuit against James Charles because of her experience working with him during the year of 2018. So she was originally an editor, and then James was like, oh my god, you're so good at your job, I'm going to promote you to a producer, but I still need you to do your editing work and edit my videos. However, I am just going to pay you for being a producer. So now we have strike number one of her being overworked and not being paid for overtime. And she would complain about this. She would bring this up and explain how she wouldn't have time to do both of these jobs, especially if she's only being paid for one of these jobs. But these complaints just went completely ignored. But at the same time, she was being praised for being like such a good employee and being so good at her job. And it's like, then pay her if she's so good at her job. So there was this instance where she got this head injury while she was with James. So James was there, he understood like the context of the situation and all that. But after she got this injury, James still decided to essentially just demand her for the work that she wasn't even getting paid for. He was demanding her that she worked overtime without being paid overtime, and also while having an injury, which was also confirmed to be a concussion after she was admitted back into the hospital, and this happened quite a few times. Then James Charles fired her. That was a thing. So apparently she was just this amazing worker, but as soon as she got a concussion and was unable to do the work that you aren't even paying her for, all of a sudden she was difficult to work with and just not a very good employee, and you had to fire her. He apparently also talked about the fact that she asked for time off. This was, I'm pretty sure, when like she had just like suffered this injury. And again, like when she confirmed it was a concussion, she like let James know. She was like, hey, I've got a concussion, like I fully can't do shit. But anyway, he knew about the head injury and knew that she like was like in pain and like couldn't really do anything. So she asked for time off because like he kept being like, I need you to edit my video, even though you like absolutely shouldn't and kind of can't. She asked for time off, and he got really petty about it and basically said the only reason she wanted time off was to hang out with a friend instead of like recover from an injury that you know that she has. So this ex-employee has filed a lawsuit against James Charles because obviously she wasn't paid for overtime, but also she wasn't paid the wages that she was supposed to be getting like after she got fired. I think my cat's meowing at me. So she didn't get paid overtime, she didn't get paid for the wages she was supposed to, like just for, you know, her producer work after she got fired. But in the lawsuit, they're stating her like concussion as a disability, since it was an injury that is, you know, like kind of long term and you have to kind of like deal with it for a while. So in the lawsuit, they're basically just saying James Charles fired her for having a disability.
Get that back, sis.
So the next thing I want to talk about is Billie Eilish, because she recently decided to kind of switch up her style. Instead of wearing, you know, the baggy clothes that she usually wears, she did a photo shoot where she wore like more revealing clothing. She talked about body image and how she's always really struggled with her body, and she also talked about, you know, like the one time paparazzi like caught her with like a singlet on when she was just like out and about, and everyone freaked the fuck out about like how she looked and all that. So obviously people were being huge fucking assholes about it and commenting on her body, but she also talked about the people who like thought they were really doing something.
Oh my god, I love your confidence. Like, she's so brave. Like, oh.
You know what I mean? Like, those type of fucking comments, which is so fucking irritating. She talked about that and how annoying they were and how like actually harmful that they were, and not like they're not fucking body positive, you're just being an asshole. And also the fact that she didn't appreciate the sexist pygmies who would always praise her for like not dressing like a slut. Like, thank god we finally have a woman who like knows how to cover up and all that shit. But there's been a few conversations around her change of style, including people who say things like Billie Eilish doing sexualized photo shoots after avoiding showing her body for so long isn't harmless self-expression, when pervy grown men and adults in the music industry have been pressuring her to hypersexualize herself since she was a minor. And to that I say, can we stop blaming women? Can we stop blaming women for being the victim? It is not Billie Eilish's fault that pervy, like, grown-ass men exist in the music industry. It is not the woman's job to cover up, minor or adult, because bad people that aren't them exist. are you trying to be like empowering in this? Like, let's empower women by telling them they have to stay completely conservative in the way that they dress. Absolutely not. I don't know what the fuck this type of message was, but we are not going to do that today. I also found this online where it was basically talking about, again, you know, when paparazzi found her wearing just like a singlet top, and articles were originally titled things such as Billie Eilish is pictured without her trademark baggy clothes as she steps out in uncharacteristically casual attire in Los Angeles, being corrected to Billie Eilish is pictured without her permission as she steps out in casual clothes. Laura Fox from Mail Online also tried to claim that she sold out by wearing lingerie in Vogue and essentially breaking a vow to hide her body, I guess. And that was corrected to proof that women can change their minds and reclaim autonomy over their own bodies. Billie Eilish shocks fans by swapping baggy clothes for lingerie in Vogue despite years of being an actual child. So the next thing I want to talk about is Gabbie, Hanna and Trisha Paytas, because Trisha Paytas went on Gabbie's podcast a while back where they kind of made up because they've had a lot of issues in the past and we all know this. It's been rather consistent. But in the podcast episode, there was just a generally kind of awkward vibe that everyone picked up on, but also Gabbie tried to essentially convince Trisha that they were friends and that they did things that Trisha doesn't remember doing, or at least not in the way that Gabbie would say that they happened, and that did make quite a big difference. But we will come back to the podcast episode. So Gabbie has obviously been posting some whack ass shit, and she said, I'm concerned for the world. The fact that people can't figure out I'm trolling in my TikToks is astounding. Like, I'm doing the same shit I did in Call Me Crazy and Shut Me Up LMAO. I'm doing the same shit I did on Musically just in regular time. If there's one thing I know how to do, it's be viral. You think the girl who's been made fun of her nose by the entire internet doesn't know what she's doing when she sings with her nose rubbing against the pop filter? Or when I stare dramatically into the mirror for Silent 5? Or when I say I'm gonna fuck both your parents and the one person you love? That one's still my favorite because of how many people got personally offended because they know I could, in fact, fuck both their parents and the one person they love. It feels good to be in control, LMAO. Shortly after that, she posted another TikTok, under which Amber said, someone says she's trying to be the next Trisha Paytas and now I can't stop seeing that. To which Gabbie Hanna responded saying, I'm like Trisha Paytas if she was talented and happy. And Trisha Paytas, in response to this, went on Twitter and said, she's a lovely human, isn't she? I made a video trying to give her some redeeming qualities to see her keep posting and remaining creative, and she did this, lol. Gabbie is a very delusional person. I truly am like this secret fan of her content, but she tried to convince me for hours that we had exchanges that never happened. To me, I don't want to go back and forth with somebody who needs help but won't get it. Seeing yet another mental breakdown for her is upsetting to me. I went on her podcast trying to do a restart for both her and me, and it just sadly didn't happen. She's not just defending herself, she's being obsessive and defensive over the wrong stuff. I blocked her everywhere because I have no interest in the back and forth with someone delusional not seeking help. She voice memoed me the next day of her admitting the stories she tried to convince me that happened, in fact, did not happen. There's also the factor of, like, when there was the whole drama of Gabbie going to Jason and saying that Trisha had an STD when Trisha and Jason were dating. Gabbie's entire point in that drama was, I'm not close with Trisha, so I wasn't going to go up to them and ask if they had an STD. So instead, I told the person that I am friends with and is dating Trisha to let them know that they actually might have herpes. But now she's saying that they were friends and they were in fact friends for many, many years, including the time when they were dating Jason Nash. So it's interesting how she manipulates this exact same story depending on what specific plot she needs to fit whatever she is saying in the moment. Gabbie Hanna then went to post more TikToks where she released screenshots of text conversations between them to essentially prove that they were actually friends. So Trisha uploaded a video on YouTube where she basically shared the voice memos that she was talking about that came from Gabbie Hanna, and in these voice notes that Gabbie sent to Trisha, Gabbie basically said that she understands why, like, it was perceived differently, because Gabbie essentially thought that Trisha had invited her to a Thanksgiving dinner, and in reality Trisha just basically mentioned it and kind of said like, oh, I wish we could hang like on Thanksgiving and that kind of stuff. There was no definitive plan, and the way that Gabbie made it out to be a lot bigger than Trisha thought it was really irritated them. They then uploaded another video basically just telling Gabbie to stop, because essentially this entire drama arises from them not being able to communicate and not being able to see that they perceive things differently and perceive situations differently and read things in different ways and have different levels of closeness and intimacy to what counts as a friendship. So it was just like basic kind of like work on communication type of stuff, but it blew up, and Trisha was basically telling Gabbie to stop because it is actually like too much. She also reiterated the statement on Twitter where she basically said like, I'm begging you, like, leave me alone, and like I hate that I've let this person have control over my well-being well-being. And Gabby said on Twitter, I did notice Trisha was very combative until she realized I still have all of the evidence she was probably hoping I didn't have. Then she started feigning niceties and being the bigger person. There's a lot to the story and it starts in 2016. So the last thing that I want to talk about is Nikki Phillippi, don't fucking know. But people have been incredibly mad at her because of the way she handled a situation in regards to what was supposed to be her pet, but we'll get into it. She had a dog and she had him since he was fairly young, and this puppy, when it was a puppy, had a traumatic experience with like other dogs when they were like a lot bigger than he was, and ever since then he's had aggression towards like other dogs, as well as just like aggressive behavior in general. So this family didn't do anything to fix this, nor did they try to fix their child's behavior around the dog, because the dog would also be rather aggressive towards their child, and the child would taunt them by, well, there was one time where the child grabbed this dog's ear and like squished it essentially, and like, you know, so hard that it started like it was swollen, and it remained swollen for, I'm pretty sure, a few months. And they described this dog as having cauliflower ears. The child would also taunt the dog in other ways, and there was this one instance, which was basically the breaking point, I guess, where the child took the dog's food away from them in the middle of eating, and the dog like bit the child's face. A bit is a bit of a harsh word. People are saying like the dog nipped at the child because there was like barely a mark. There was a small, the parents described the child as having a small mark on their face that lasted a few moments. So it wasn't permanent, nor was it actually really serious. And they were also like going somewhere, I don't fucking know. But it obviously didn't require any medical attention at all. And in this video where they essentially just explain the whole situation, there have also been multiple clips arriving of them just being really like frustrating in the way that they were essentially also like teasing and taunting this dog with other dogs, knowing that this dog had behavioral issues because of its experience as a puppy. So they put the dog down. That was the decision they made. They put the dog down, and they said in the video like it was bound to happen. Like we knew that like one day we would have to do something about it, and we were just like waiting for the day, like we weren't sure. And it's like, then why didn't you do anything? You knew that this was an issue that was going to build up to something incredibly serious. This wasn't incredibly serious, but they just decided it was a breaking point for them. You could have prevented this, and you just decided not to because you were lazy, I guess. You had the resources to do it. You had the money to do it if you didn't want to do it yourselves. It was so easily prevented, and they just didn't, and that's why people are very mad at them. So that is all I have for you guys today. If you liked this video, or if you liked me, make sure to like and subscribe. If you didn't like me, make sure to get in contact with my teachers, because I bet you have a lot in common, and make sure to stay safe and stay hydrated.